Hey everyone, Jim here. Just the other day, there was an article that came out on the mobile reboot of Final Fantasy XI. It's not looking good. Let's get into it. Exclusive Nexon Final Fantasy XI mobile development stopped. Nexon stopped production on FF11. It was a decision after 5 years of work in collaboration with Square Enix. The development team will be converted to Nexon's flagship new development project production team, such as Project NRG and Tails Weaver M. Okay? Decision based on development policies that focus production capabilities on promising projects and attention. All right, so they're just saying that they're moving people over. What this all looks like. On the 9th, Nexon officially said it was confirmed that the development of Final Fantasy XI Mobile was suspended. And director Sim Ki-hoon, I probably butchered that. Let me know. Sim Ki-hoon, who was leading the development team, was moved to the position of director of Tails Weaver M, the development team of Final Fantasy. Oh, all right. Development team of that is rebooted. Okay. So the rebooted game is getting a rebooted team, essentially. Tails Weaver M and project will be distributed to new development project teams and have crossed the development review hurdles without team assignment. Okay, so it for sure has been stopped. We don't know if it's been canceled yet. Final Fantasy XI Mobile is a mobile MMO based on the IP in 2015. It drew attention by agreeing collaboration. Okay. All right. Let's get to the good stuff. It's a project that adopted the Unreal Engine 4 and started development in the same and developing it in earnest of 2016, and the production was not smooth. Since 2018, it has been assigned to Nexon One Studio, and is known that the development direction has changed once. Initially, it was scheduled to be released in the second half of 2019, so I guess we should have already had it. But it was postponed as Nexon changed its production leadership in the third quarter of last year and began a full review of the internal project. Wow. Okay. So we were supposed to have it, and then they're like, hey, yo, let's change it up. Why? I wonder what happened. Final Fantasy XI was selected as the project that was not clear to pass the screening, but it survived in the first review conduct in the third quarter of last year. Vice President, Daewon, I don't know, Daewon Kim, who took office as the general manager of the new development, appointed director Ki-hoon Shim as the general director of the game as his first greeting immediately after taking office. Wow. So, vice president changed. So, a few things changed, which I believe this is the same guy that we looked at earlier. They just put Shim in front of it, wherever it is. I forget. There it is. Yeah, director. Or I believe so. Wrong? Oh, I'm lost. Yeah, that's the same name. Okay. So he changed it up as soon as he took office. I wonder what is happening. I don't know if this happens in normal amounts of games. Is it only this? I thought like I don't know. Final Fantasy 11 has been around since 2002 in Japan. Um, I believe it then hit the US in 03. It's been a while since I've looked at these numbers, so I can be wrong. FF11 was actually Square Enix's first MMO, and then they later came out with Final Fantasy 14, and then that was like a crapshoot, and then they did a Realm Reborn, which the guy who actually did the Realm Reborn, whoever was like taking order of it, the general director, general manager, I don't know what he was called. He was actually the guy who worked on Final Fantasy 11, their first MMO. The Final Fantasy 11 mobile, which they also call Final Fantasy 11 R, which is the reboot version of it. So the mobile version has been in the works for 5 years. Director Ki-Hoon Shim has history of overseeing the production of mobile MMO RPGs, AX, while serving at Nexon Red. It is evaluated to the core among... So they're just saying Daehuan is DH. Okay. Okay. Considering the relationship with Square Enix and his reputation of IP, it was a project that was wasted time for... It was a project that was a waste of time for Nexon to finish. Wow. After director Ki-Hoon Shim was put in, it is known that the game was recognized in the direction of combining RPG and TCG genre. All right, if you guys don't know what a TCG is, it's essentially Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon also has a TCG, Pokemon CG. It's essentially that. Those card games is what it is. So also Hearthstone, if you know about that one. So they wanted to combine RPG and TCG elements. I don't know if you guys have played this game. It was on the Game Boy Advance. It was a Kingdom Hearts game, Chain of Memories. You would use attacks based on these cards, and like depending on if your card was higher than your opponent's card, like that's whose would take effect. So like they're attacking each other, but sometimes you don't get to attack. I doubt it would be like that, but an RPG with TCG, I don't know. That sounds ridiculous to me. I do know that in The Witcher they have the Gwent game, which has turned into a TCG since then, but that's an RPG with like a mini game of a TCG inside of it. So I really have no clue what they would do with this. The following development continued for nearly a year, but a decision was made to end the development. Thank you. That would be a god-awful idea. Do not kill Final Fantasy XI by turning it into some kind of TCG. Unless it's a real TCG, then I'm down. If it's paper, I'm down to play it. But they already have a Final Fantasy card game. After the spread of Corona-19, Square Enix switched to full telecommuted system for a considerable amount of time. It was also evaluated that the fact this made collaboration between Nexon and Square Enix more difficult had an effect. I mean, sure, they were probably already like bashing heads on it, but I guess, yeah, with it being all online and not really being able to talk to people, I'm sure that would make it a lot worse. I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. Nexon also made a sufficient effort, and Square Enix also saw a combination of mobile games using the FFIP, or intellectual property. It is interpreted that both sides ended IP collaboration without major conflict after a period of consideration. Well, I'm glad they stopped the TCG. It sounds like they're just having issues inside between both of them. And I mean, we kind of went over this. Director Ki-Hoon Shim became the general director of this game, Tales Weaver. and took charge of the second half of the game's production process. Director Ki-Hoon Shim has served as the head of development department and the originals of that game. Okay, I have no clue what this game is. I don't know if it's like Final Fantasy level, or if he even has done anything that Final Fantasy is looking to do. I don't know what this Tales game or that Project NRG is. As it was a game of the MMORPG genre, it is known that there will be a lot of manpower invested in the FF11 mobile, and these personnel will be assigned as leading projects of the new development headquarters, such as Tales, blah blah blah. Okay. And then it goes over Project NRG a little bit. The new MMO, mobile MMO began development before Nexon Red was absorbed into Nexon Korea, and it is counted as a core project of I forget his name, that director dude. Been development as a realistic medieval fantasy based game using Unreal Engine 4. It also aims to realize a seamless world that minimizes channel division. It is a project that claims a AAA masterpiece. Okay. A AAA masterpiece as a mobile game. The only one I can see being able to do that is like, I mean, I don't know. I guess Square Enix can. I don't know. I consider AAA games to be out of this world and not something you really get to play on a phone. It is counted, what does it say? It is counted as the most anticipated project. Okay. Well, I guess, guys, Project NRG is going to be the next big deal. I hope it's good. Honestly, I hope all of these games are good. Tales Weaver, I've never even heard of this, but I hope Project NRG is good. You know, like, I want there to be better games out there, especially on mobile. If there can be a good game on mobile that doesn't have like ridiculous transactions just to pay to win, then I'm down for it. But it is a Korean company and they have a habit of having pay to win games, partially due to their audience. It is a bit different here in the West compared to the East. I do know that China and Korea don't have an issue with spending lots of money in these games. You know, there are those mobile games where it's like you build up your base and like, you know, you make your troops and you go attack, and it's just like they spend a ridiculous amount of money in those games. And aside from that, even like Hearthstone or other TCGs that you can play online, sure, eventually you kind of like just get everything, so it's not necessarily pay to win. But a lot of people consider card games to be pay to win, even though it's far more than that. You can beat people with a budget or on a budget. That's what's happening with Final Fantasy XI Mobile right now. I do hope that they get to finish the game. I hope that it's not terrible. I don't want Final Fantasy XI to be turned into a microtransaction pay to win shit show, and it kind of like kills the game. Because if the mobile works and is good, that can be a bridge for people to go into Final Fantasy XI. Being able to get the population up for Final Fantasy XI, bring in new players, they get to experience one of my favorite MMOs. I started playing it back in it was 7th grade, so that was 2006. 2006 I started playing it, and I mean that's a few years after release. It was also in its prime at that point, kind of like when people say the best times of classic WoW were either vanilla, or they'll also say Wrath, but also Burning Crusade. You know, like that whole 6-year process of the game, that's essentially where I started in Final Fantasy XI. people do consider level cap of 75, Treasures of Ottergon, and some people also throw in like Wings of a Goddess. That was the golden era for this game.